Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. So after Game 4's loss by 32 points, we talked about how it was actually best for the Knicks to lose that way. Game 3 was devastating. Andrew Nembhard hit a crazy 35-footer after being 1 of 7 previously. But there were some question marks for the Knicks coming into Game 5. It wasn't about can they find a way to win the game. It was more so of how are they going to find a way to win a game, because they looked gassed after Game 4. So many injuries were piling up. Jalen Brunson struggled in games 3 and 4, and he was the key for game 5. The Knicks had to find a way to get him going, and they did. More on him later. Of course, there also had to be adjustments made. Precious Achiuwa had been starting at the 4, and clearly that was not a good decision. Precious hadn't been a plus in the plus and minus the entire series, and the floor spacing was just terrible. So Coach Thibodeau decides to go with Miles McBride, which would end up being potentially a series-saving decision. Not only did McBride completely take Tyrese Halliburton out of this game, but the Knicks also attacked him in pick and rolls, and they made him defend. McBride's about 6 foot, 6'1", and he would go and screen Halliburton, and it would create a ton of matchup nightmares for Brunson. Nobody out there was able to defend him, whether it was Naismith or Nembhard, Halliburton. It just simply didn't matter. Brunson was scoring at will. The floor spacing was awesome. Brunson alone in that second quarter was 7 of 9 from the field. I want to say he finished with 22 points at the top of my head. I mean, this was vintage Jalen Brunson. For him to bounce back in the way that he did just shows his greatness, and I can't wait to see what's in store for him in Game 6. But the best thing from this game was after the Knicks won, and it was a blowout. I mean, of course, yeah, the Pacers cut it to 9 at one point in the fourth quarter, but from start to finish, the Knicks just completely controlled this game thanks to Brunson, McBride, Hartenstein, even Dante DiVincenzo. From a box score standpoint, he wasn't the most efficient, but Dante's defense, especially weak side coming over to rotate, was phenomenal. We're going to talk about every single Knicks player in this game, but we've got to talk about how everyone, of course, was writing off the Knicks. And this is something that I think is actually best for the Knicks, is when they don't have any believers. Of course, a lot of people pick Philadelphia over us in the first round. Philly actually was favorited to beat us in the first round at one point, depending on who you ask. A lot of analysts were picking the Knicks a lot. We're picking the Sixers. I feel like it was kind of even, and that was because the Knicks were the 2 seed, the Sixers, remember, they got the 7th seed. They beat the Heat in the play, and all of a sudden, it's like Joel Embiid, man, they were 31-8. But the Knicks in this game, everyone said that they were fatigued. Everyone said that the Pacers had all the momentum. The Pacers were going to win this series. And essentially what happened was Jalen Brunson said, that's just simply not going to happen. Brunson went out there and he scored, what was it, 44 points in 43 minutes. I'm going to pull up the stats. Yeah, Brunson, I mean, just nobody could guard him. He was scoring at will. He finished this game with 44 and 43 minutes. He had 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 turnovers. That's the thing for the Knicks, is they've got to keep the turnovers down. They only had 9 of them. In comparison, the Pacers had 18. When you win the turnover battle by that much, you're usually going to win the game, and the Knicks did. But it's also Isaiah Hartenstein. I didn't talk much about him in the last video, and I should have started off with him a lot sooner, because even though Brunson was unstoppable, Isaiah Hartenstein controlled this game from start to finish. He had 17 rebounds, 12 of them offensive. If you take a look at the Pacers, they had 5 offensive rebounds alone. So that means that Hartenstein single-handedly out-rebounded the Pacers on the offensive glass. It's pretty crazy. Josh Hart, what did he have, 4 rebounds in the last game? Hart in this game, he ended up grabbing 11 of them. He had 18 points, 7 of 16. That's pretty damn good efficiency for Hart. If he can give us 18 a night with his defense and his energy and his boards, I mean, we'll take that. Like, no Knicks fan's going to complain about that. Hart was a plus 21. Miles McBride was the biggest difference in this game, because if the Knicks had started Precious Achiuwa, I don't think this game has the same results. I'm not saying that they would have gone out there and lost, but they would have just put themselves in a very dangerous situation. It's just more so the matchup. Hartenstein and Achiuwa, both of them obviously aren't shooters. Now, they both can shoot the 3 ball. I mean, Achiuwa did put up a 3 in this game, and it looked pretty good on the release, but it's just the spacing. Like, you can't beat the Pacers playing 2 guys like that. You've got to go out there and just play small ball against them, space the floor, and attack them off of that penetration, because the Pacers are a good on-ball defense team, but once you're able to get past that, there's just no going back from that, and that's what we saw in this game. Yeah, McBride, he ended up shooting 3 of 7 from 3, 7 of 15 from the field. He had 17 points, plus 26, 4 assists. But the biggest thing was his defense and Halliburton. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, it almost seemed like he didn't even play in this game. I mean, maybe it's just me, but Halliburton had 13 points and 5 assists. 5 of 9 shooting. He didn't even shoot the ball. Like Halliburton, it felt like he wasn't even out there, man. I mean, literally, he was just non-existent in this game. And you've got to credit Miles McBride, who is a defensive player first. That's what he said post-game, so shout out to him. Precious Achiuwa did play well in this game. I know I kind of picked on him saying that he shouldn't be starting, or maybe he needs to kind of step up, but he was good in this game. 23 minutes plus 15. He was a game high for the Knicks off of the bench. Pretty certain he was a game high in general off of the bench. I mean, it's just amazing. Like for example, TJ McConnell played 19 minutes and was a minus 19. For Achiuwa to do what he did was awesome. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Gave the Knicks good minutes off the bench. Alec Burks was even better. 23 minutes, 6 of 11 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, 18 points. Burks to this point should probably get more minutes because he's just stayed ready. He's knocked down shots, and he makes it extremely difficult on the Pacers defense because you have to get a hand up on him. There's a couple of times in this game where the Pacers just got a hand up late and Burks knocked it down, or they got it on time and he still knocked it down. I mean, Burks, we said this coming into the series, and even more so after OG got hurt, was that Alec Burks needs to get minutes and needs to get a chance because this guy can shoot the basketball. He's a veteran, 32 years old. He's been around the league for a minute now, and he's been huge for the Knicks. Jericho Sims played in just 3 minutes. Sims hasn't played much in this series, and it's kind of easy to see why. I mean, I do like Jericho Sims, and I think he could be a really good center in this league. He's just 25, but I mean, playoff minutes for Sims is just, no, you just can't really ask that. That's why Coach Tibbs gets a lot of hate for no reason, because everyone's like, oh, these guys are playing 40-plus minutes. Well, who's he going to go to? Outside of Achiuwa and Burks, there's no one reliable in big minutes, and key minutes more so, not big minutes, but just in a playoff game when the game's close, you can't really rely on these guys. You know, Shake Milton's solid, but if Shake Milton's in for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and what if the Knicks are -7 in that? Like, you just can't really rely on them. So, and again, the Knicks are missing 4 players. They're missing OG and Randall, who would start on any team in the NBA. And then, of course, they're missing Boyan and Mitchell Robinson, 2 good bench pieces. So it's expected that the Knicks starters' minutes are going to go up and they're going to have to do more. But overall, you've got to be ecstatic with what you saw out of the Knicks bench last night from those 2 guys. If that can continue, I think the Knicks are going to be in a great situation. If OG comes back in the conference finals, which Chris Hayes did report that that's the plan, I don't expect OG to play in this series, even if it does go 7 games. But I certainly will see him being back for the next round if the Knicks were to make it, which is pretty good news to get OG back, because of course the Knicks can't afford that. But in order to beat Boston, the Knicks will need OG, and I'd imagine 99% of Knicks fans listening right now would agree with me. We're not beating the Celtics without OG. I mean, of course, yeah, maybe the Celtics end up choking and the Knicks, like, it could happen, I guess, but realistically speaking, the Knicks' best defender, one of the best defenders in the NBA, a guy that had just scored 28 in 28 minutes, you just want him out there. The Knicks are a much different team. The Knicks haven't lost 2 games in a row all year when OG has played. So think about that for a second. I mean, if the Knicks get OG back against the Celtics, which all signs point to that they will, I legitimately think we're going to beat them, because the Celtics haven't been tested this entire playoffs. The Cavs with no Donovan Mitchell, and then you got the Miami Heat with no Jimmy Butler. I mean, yeah, the Knicks are without Randall, but they still have a ton of good players, and Knicks are just a much different team than Miami and Cleveland. This game completely changed everything, and I mean, maybe that will be the title, maybe it won't be, but the bottom line is that the Knicks needed to find a way to win this game, and they did it big.